Welcome to Michigan in Focus, powered by thecentersquare.com. This episode features a piece by Center Square Michigan reporter Scott McClellan. Headlined, quote, Whitmer signs bills banning those guilty of domestic violence from owning guns for 8 years, end quote. Here's the story. Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed bills into law that ban those convicted of domestic violence from buying, owning, or transporting firearms for 8 years after sentencing. Whitmer said in a statement, quote, keeping Michiganders, especially young women, safe and healthy is a top priority, and these bills will take long overdue steps to protect individuals from abuse. As a former prosecutor and as governor, I am proud to sign this bipartisan legislation to prevent abusers from accessing firearms. Together, we can make Michigan a safe and welcoming place for everyone, end quote. House Bill 4945 updates the sentencing guidelines to prohibit those convicted of domestic violence from buying or owning a gun or ammunition for 8 years. Michigan State Police Colonel James F. Grady II said in a statement, quote, we are committed to doing what we can to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous, convicted criminals. These bills give our troopers a valuable tool in the fight to keep survivors of domestic violence safe, end quote. Senate Bill 471 prohibits the possession or use of firearms and ammunition by persons convicted of a misdemeanor involving domestic violence. Senate Bill 528 defines additional domestic violence offenses that result in disqualification. Representative Amos O'Neill, a Democrat from Saginaw, said in a statement, quote, Michigan is continuing to take steps to protect its people, all people. Today we are enshrining safeguards to protect domestic violence survivors from gun violence. It only makes sense that this law is on the books to keep guns out of the hands of violent criminals, end quote. Attorney General Dana Nessel says the change will save lives. Nessel said in a statement, quote, survivors of intimate partner violence live in constant fear and in constant danger. Abusers with firearms are 5 times more likely to kill their female victims than abusers without firearms. My department remains committed to protecting survivors of domestic violence, and that is why we aggressively advocated for these bills in the legislature, end quote. The Department of Attorney General's Criminal Justice Bureau Chief Daniel Hageman Clark is a prosecutor with 20 years experience who has spent most of her career prosecuting domestic violence and sexual assault cases. Hageman Clark said, quote, this is such a long-awaited step forward in protecting victims and survivors of domestic violence. This law is truly a common-sense measure that will change the futures of many survivors who have endured a painful, violent past. I hope and believe that it will start to give survivors back some of their power and their hope for the future, end quote. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. This podcast was made with the assistance of AI technology. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.